Skills Motocross 3 is the latest mobile game from Swedish developer Turborilla. As the game is released publicly today, we caught up with lead game designer Joe Welch to discuss what users can expect from MSM3, including new features like whips, a robust line of bikes and gear selections, more in-depth multiplayer options, and so much more. Hear what Joe has to say, and download Skills Motocross 3 in your mobile app store today.
So moving into Skills Motocross 3, we thought, all right, we got to keep what works, which is the physics, but we also want to bring all these things players have been asking for years and years and years. And the big ones are whips, teams, track editor. Those are the three main ones. So we were trying to figure out how can we do that. And on top of that, something we've always wanted, which we think fans want, is better live ops. Like in MSM2, you have Jam, and it's kind of 2 new tracks every week, over and over and over. And we thought, this gets kind of boring after 8 years. So let's do something a little more robust. And I haven't even seen other games do it. I've seen other communities do it outside of games. Like you have MX Bikes and they have championship series and all this stuff. But we want to bring that into the game itself, so players can go in and you could have a 6-week championship series where you're fighting for points every week, and there's championship standings and red. The leader has the red plate and all that kind of fun stuff that we love about motocross and supercross and that. So that's another big thing we're going to bring into the game at some point. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to please everyone. There's definitely different crowds. There's the casual crowd who just wants to have a fun playing a racing game, and they don't really care about motocross or supercross or the sport in general. Maybe they never even ridden a bike. And then you got the people like, Ken Roxon and those guys who play the game. So you kind of want to please everyone, and it's tough to do. So I think we came up with some good solutions in Skills Motocross 3. The career mode is really robust. It's way bigger than we've ever done. I think to start, it's 130 some tracks or something like that. And the way career mode works is you kind of have these tracks we call qualified tracks. They're the single player tracks where you play against pre-recorded times that we set. And when you beat a section of qualified tracks, you unlock a location championship. And those championships are actually multiplayer. So you that's kind of more for the casual crowd. And then we're going to have things like the league, which is like the rank competitive mode, which will be more for the hardcore crowd, the people that are really into racing, the people that want to put 6 weeks into the game, and play week after week. And those are just 2 of the modes. There's like a mode called Duel, which is like a 1v1, kind of a casual 1v1. You get paired up live PvP. You get 2 minutes to race each other. Winner, after 2 minutes, the best time wins. There's that. There's regular jam like people are used to, which is pretty casual. So we've kind of sprinkled in a bunch of different events and modes here and there to try to please everyone out there. Yeah, so the big difference is we went 3D, and we had to do 3D because whips, right? You can't really do whips in a 2D game. And other reasons, it looks cooler with way more customization. Now you can go to the garage and you can change all the different parts of your bike and spin the bike around and see it, and it just looks cool. So the main thing was going from 2D to 3D. And when we did that, the old physics engine in Skills Motocross 1 and 2 was all based on 2D physics. So we had to kind of redo the physics engine. We got it as close as we could. And when you come from 2 to 3, it does feel different. It doesn't feel like the exact same game, but we also didn't want it to feel like the exact same game. But so the physics are a little different. It feels to me a little more realistic. We also have more track materials now. We added sand in there. We'll probably add mud in the future. So now you got dirt, sand, eventually mud. So those things kind of play into the realism of it. But I will give a warning out there to the hardcore Skills Motocross 2 players that, it probably will be a big shock at first. It feels different. It looks different. The camera angle's different. There's a lot of things that are different. And I'm just going to say, give it some time, because it definitely will grow on you. Like our beta testers at first were like, I just want to play the old game. And it's like, now that they've been on it for a year, they're like, wow, this is so much better. Well, I mean, first and foremost, this is a motocross game, right? And we've told ourselves time and time again, we're making a motocross game for people who want to play a motocross game. Like, that's it, right? Mm-hmm. So, we're not trying to put in, people always like put in quads and ATVs and snowmobiles and all, and do all this other stuff. And it's like, look, man, this is a motocross game for motocross fans. So we packed in so many things for the core fans. Like one smaller feature that people have been asking for forever is 2-stroke and 4-stroke selection. So now you can take any bike and there's a little toggle. You could switch it off, 2 to 4-stroke, and that'll change, the look of the bike with the pipe and all that stuff. And it changes the sounds, which everyone's been bugging us for years. And we actually recorded sounds from real bikes on a real track. So the 2-stroke, 4-stroke sounds actually sound really good. Like I actually enjoy playing the game with sound on. I usually at games I always mute it. So there's that. The multiple terrain types. You know, we do a lot of, if you've played Mad Skills Motocross 2, we do a lot of replica tracks for the hardcore guys. So in Jam, you know, if it's, you know, Anaheim this week, you know, we'll remake Anaheim and throw it in the game, obviously with no turns. You know, and that sucks when it's like Daytona and it's like half the track's sand, and you're like, man, we got no sand. How am I supposed to replicate sand? You know, but now we got sand, so it'll be fun to do replica tracks where we got sand. So that's kind of something for the hardcore moto fans. You know, whips and track are the top 2 requested things we've had since Mad Skills Motocross 2 came out. So we thought, let's try to bring those to Mad Skills Motocross 3. And when we started working on it, there was some disagreement internally, and for good reason. Like the physics are really good in the game, and we didn't want to mess it up. And now putting a whip into the game is messing with the physics, right? Like it's not just an animation. There's actually physics involved, like the actual bike and rider physics models are moving and all this stuff. So for a long time, we didn't have whips in the game until like a year ago, and this game's been in the making for like 4 years. So it was a long process, kind of testing out first, like, does it work? Does it feel fun? What are the controls like? And in that stage, the whip looked terrible. It was just like the bike would just turn sideways and then go back. And it was kind of just testing out the mechanism. You know, and then once we realized, okay, it's actually fun, the mechanism works, it feels good, it's not too much at one time, it's still a fluid kind of feeling, intuitive. Then I was like, all right, let's dial it in. So then we started working on the whip animation and got the animation feeling good. And then the next step was testing the scrub feature, which won't be in at launch, but it'll be coming shortly after an update because we haven't been able to finish it. But basically, you'll be able to initiate the whip on the face of a jump and scrub to, you know, scrub off some airtime like you would in real life. We didn't want to take away from the wheelie scrub. I call it the wheelie scrub and the whip scrub. That's kind of what we call it internally to compare the two. But the wheelie scrub is definitely the hardest skill in the game. You know, you got to learn how to hold a wheelie first of all, and then you got to be able to hold the wheelie up a face of a jump and then lean forward at the right time and get that little like scrub slingshot action going on. So we didn't want to take away from that because it's just a great skill to have. So that is always going to be the fastest way to get around a track if the track is built for it, right? But the whip scrub is kind of like a little, it's easier, right? So if you're not good at holding a wheelie and all that stuff, you can do it on other jumps. It won't give you as much benefit as the wheelie scrub, but you can also use them. They're kind of meant to be used at different times, right? So like the wheelie scrub, you have to have a jump that you can actually wheelie up to in order to do it. Where the whip scrub is going to come into play where you have these big long, maybe you got like a big long kind of jump that wheeling up that thing is virtually impossible. Now you can just ride up it and then scrub it and it's going to work. So I think you're going to see the top people combining both types of scrubs in a single run to get the best times. Really our philosophy for Mad Skills Motocross 3 is like, this is Mad Skills Motocross for mobile now. Like it's kind of, I guess you could kind of refer to Warzone, like Call of Duty Warzone. Like they're talking about keeping Warzone alive for years and years to come and keep updating it. And that's kind of what we're doing with Mad Skills Motocross 3. Like the next 10 years, this is the game we want people to play. There's going to be updates all the time for years to come. You know, so if we did introduce pro athletes and stuff like that, I think it probably would end up being in this game.